I'll take you back to 1776, when our genius, those geniuses, those founding fathers who created this republic, gave us as close to a perfect form of government that mankind has ever created. And in the genius of this form of government, not only did they create the checks and balances of the three separate branches of the federal government, executive, judicial, and legislative, which are supposed to be checks and balances the one against the other, which now today they aren't. They're facilitators of each other's corruption. But the founders didn't stop there. You see, you got to remember something. When that Constitution was ratified in 1787, and when this country came to being, please be careful, and the terms are very important. Understand, America is not one nation. We never were intended to be one nation. We were, in 1776, 13 states united. Is that an amen? 13 states united. After the Constitution, the federal Constitution was ratified in 1787, note that the states, the 13 colonies, the states did not surrender their statehood. They did not surrender their sovereignty. When they left that Constitutional Convention, they were still 13 independent, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration, free and independent states. Right? For example, let me give you some practical applications of that. Right after Barack Obama was elected, a major, if I get my chronology right after, a major Supreme Court test came up on the Second Amendment, the famous Heller decision. And can you believe it that in all these years, the Supreme Court of the United States has never ruled on the definition of the people as it appears in the Second Amendment, the right of the people to keep their arms from non-infringement. And the centralists of our day say that means the National Guard. Doesn't talk about individuals, talk about the National Guard. The Supreme Court never ruled on it. Well, the reason the Supreme Court has never ruled on it before now is because everybody knew from before 1787, all the way before 1776, everybody in America knew that the right of the people to keep their arms meant the right of the people to keep and bear arms. You know, just kind of like understood. So we're going to now rule on it. Wow, what's going to happen if the Supreme Court rules that this is a collective right and not an individual right? It's going to set the Constitution up on its ears, and the Second Amendment is going to be overturned for all intents and purposes. The state of Montana, just to give you an example. Through its Attorney General, sent a letter to the Supreme Court and to the executive branch in Washington, D.C. And the state of Montana, through its Attorney General, said, "Dear sirs, when Montana became a state in 1889, we put into our contract with you, the Constitution, that one of the reasons we were willing to become one of the states united was because the federal government recognized the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And we in Montana also in our state constitution recognize the right of our citizens to keep and bear arms. And we are letting you know here and now that if you, the federal government, decide that the meaning of the Second Amendment no longer applies to individuals, and you're going to reinterpret the meaning of the Second Amendment, and you're going to now say that it does not apply to individuals who do not have the right to keep and bear arms, we, as a state of Montana, will consider our contract with you, the federal government, to be null and void. On a plane to Montana. That's true. I'm not making a word of that up. That's exactly what they said. And that's exactly what the state of Montana and the state of Oklahoma and every other state in these states united has a right to do. The contract is only good as long as both members of the contract keep their part of the contract. Another Second Amendment story for you. Eric Holder, the brand new Attorney General under Barack Obama, one of the first things he said in one of his first press conferences after being nominated to the post of Attorney General, says the Obama administration wants to resurrect the assault weapons ban. The two senators from Montana, both of whom are Democrats, called Mr. Holder up, sent a letter to Mr. Holder, and said, don't even think about it. The state of Montana will not tolerate one more encroachment on the Second Amendment of its citizens. Don't even think about it.